The reason they felt they needed to do that, Jesse, is because if they told their audience the truth, that when gas is the most expensive it's been, flights are super expensive, that 5,000 kids decided to spend a weekend in summer traveling across the country to go hear from conservative speakers, maybe the audience of The View would think twice about all of their ideas. That's why they felt so compelled to try to smear our wonderful summit this last weekend.
Yeah, they have nothing else to talk about. Maybe you should get the lawyer that worked on that Covington Catholic school case. What was that, a $200 million settlement? I think, Charlie, you could use the money, and your students definitely could.
What happens when Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly get a hold of a target? Presume Sunny Hostin picked the wrong day to seem indifferent. There was no dispute. It was a verbal confrontation without any escape route, scripts, or filters, and no one was around to assist her when the heat became too much. Sunny was embroiled in more than just another acrimonious argument. She was engaged in an intellectual conflict. Megyn showed up with her cold-blooded, skilled precision. Charlie was direct and uncompromising, no bullshit, just facts the kind that hurt. Sunny came into the room with her signature grin, as if she were about to impart knowledge. But toward the end, she seemed to be trying to find the emergency exit while still maintaining her dignity.
Her disgusting, gross elitism and her complete out-of-touch nature with respect to the rest of the world. Sunny Hostin goes on The View and decides now would be a great time to dump all over the so-called uneducated.
What we did not have is white women who voted about 52%, right, for Donald Trump. Uneducated white women, is my understanding. You have Latino men, actually, voting more for him. And you have, and black men was not the story. We're not the story here, because they voted almost 80% for the vice president.
There was more to it than a roast. This was a live dissection on television. As you can see, Sunny takes pleasure in playing the fearless, frankness card, but when faced with real pressure, her self-assurance quickly falters. She was no match for two sharp minds who were willing to challenge everything, especially given her jargon and holier-than-thou tone. She talks as if she's guarding the gates of civilization, but this time she was just holding an L, it's chaos and cardboard, yet she gives the impression that she has conviction. Her rationale was weak, and her confidence was loud. Most of the time, it's just a series of carefully selected headlines presented as fact. But this time, the wind sped straight into a storm. Charlie Kirk and Megyn Kelly entered. Dispelling the illusion was the common objective of two voices from different segments of the media business. They did this accurately and without the need of a moderator, a debate stage, or even a face-to-face interview. Let's analyze it. Sunny Hostin sees herself as the left media's moral compass. Picture her walking into the studio as if she were literally saying the word. That's the first image that springs to mind. Since I care more than you, which comes through in every sentence, I must be right. The problem is that passion is only noise when it lacks substance, and when real arguments clash with that cacophony, it collapses. She is an expert at sound bites. She incites the base, agitates the audience, and portrays anybody who disagrees with her worldview, especially conservatives, as a monster by using dramatic one-liners. That's what she does. She was proudly shouting the same old things aloud, as if she were leading a moral campaign on television, but they didn't land this time. Not with Charlie and Megyn around. The ensuing takedown was something she never expected.
Just because you didn't go to college doesn't mean you're stupid, and it doesn't mean that you don't have wisdom. You can go to college and get a bunch of irrelevant facts about how men can allegedly give birth or whatever they teach. But I said this to our team. I said working people, the muscular class, including working women, they are so in favor of Trump, and they don't want to be called stupid or uneducated.
Sunny and consistency don't get along. Her talent lies in selective outrage on when it suits her, off when it doesn't. Criticism vanishes when her side is involved. It's not journalism, it's damage control masked as virtue. She avoids blaming both sides, framing her commentary like a political speech. Enter Charlie Kirk. He didn't need theatrics, just facts. While Sunny painted conservatives broadly, Kirk brought timelines, stats, and uncomfortable questions. His approach revealed double standards to glaring to ignore.
The founder and CEO of Turning Point USA and the author of the new book, The College Scam. So, Charlie, do you accept the View's apology?
I mean, regardless of whether or not I accept it, the question is, do our students accept it? That's really what's at heart here. They went after our 5,000 students at our event there of high school and college kids. And look, I get attacked all the time. People say false things. I'm a public figure. But when you go after 16 and 17-year-olds that travel from across the country that then have to live for the rest of their life with a shadow over them because someone at ABC says that they might be linked to neo-Nazis.
To Sunny, facts are secondary to protecting her narrative, but Kirk exposed the cracks voting records, public statements, and patterns. He showed her outrage only appears when politically useful. If it's her side, silence. The Justice Warrior persona is more costume than creed. Then came the real takedown. She only waves the justice flag when it suits her. Kirk and Megyn Kelly calmly laid out the receipts. No yelling needed. Kirk, blunt but thorough, cited Sunny's outrage at conservative remarks while ignoring worse from allies.
But look, what did it take for us to get to the point of an apology? We had to threaten a lawsuit, Jesse. And by the way, we're still entertaining it. We're talking to some of the best lawyers out there that are experts in this. And as you know, these things can be very complicated. There's a lot of facts and circumstances around it. But we're not going to let this go because you should not be able to smear 5,000 high school and college kids and then just be able to walk away.
Sunny ignores misconduct from her own side. The hypocrisy was called out. Though known for spotlighting injustice, she disappears when the problem is close to home. Kirk didn't just criticize, he exposed a strategy. Her outrage switches on like a remote when conservatives speak, but disappears. When radicals do, no statements, no concern, just empty air. This isn't inconsistency, it's calculated.
Amazing. She's specifically there referring to the women, but of course it's the non-college educated men as well who voted for Donald Trump. And the nerve of this woman to whom the country has given so much to try to dump on people who didn't go to college. Look at you. Look at your achievements. How do you like the so-called uneducated now?
Sunny isn't guided by principle, but by performance. Outrage is a product she sells, not a value she holds. She's driven by what trends, not what's true. Kirk simply held up the mirror. No Justice Warrior reflected back, only a brand manager in motion. Her anger isn't authentic, it's monetized, driven by what the audience wants. Kirk's takedown was clean and sharp, pointing out how her emotion is choreographed, rehearsed, and timed. The truth didn't shout.
Sunny Hostin I think she went to Binghamton undergrad, and she went to Notre Dame Law School, which is a great law school. Her son right now is at Harvard. That son she wants us to think is sitting there oppressed, who she's got to fight on behalf of because America is so awful to him. They're educating him right now at Harvard University. And Jason, would you take a look at this? Because I'm going to guess, I haven't been to your house down in Tennessee, but I'm going to guess it doesn't look like this. This is Sunny Hostin's home in this shitty country that she can't stand, that doesn't treat Black people like Sunny well. She let People magazine feature her home. Look at this dump. This country sucks. She went to Notre Dame Law School. She makes millions on The View. Her son's at Harvard. I'm sure her daughter's at private school on her way to some Ivy League. This is where Sunny lives. And F off, America. I can't stand how you've kept us all in chains. That's her message.
Just when you think it couldn't get any hotter, Megyn Kelly walks in. She is more dangerous than a yelling battle because she is calm and uncaring. She didn't need the volume. She was carrying something sharper than Kirk's sledgehammer, a big binder of hard, cold evidence. Each page was a dagger, and her surgical precision and focus were like a scalpel under a microscope. No drama, no sarcasm, just the facts, presented with the patience of someone who has seen too many staged breakdowns to care. There was no Megyn to protect. She came to do the analysis. And with every cool, collected fact she laid down, she exposed the play for what it was, a performance. That eventually deviated from the script, not partisanship. Keep Megyn Kelly out of the room. She arrives composed, sharp, and ready to evaluate.
I think if a liberal came to speak at University of Kentucky, they'd give an open mic like I just did to a conservative and had a discussion like this.
I certainly hope they would.
No, they wouldn't. because speech is not a left-wing value. That is why they have to deploy shock troops called Antifa to go after everywhere I go. When I go to University of California, Davis next week, there has to be 120 police officers because of the threats, the violent threats of liberals that want me dead, that want to disrupt our events. There are no right-wing hecklers that come to events like this. I think it's rather clear there's one side that is trying to do everything they can to shut one side up, and one side that's trying to open up the marketplace of ideas. And I think that's rather
Sunny Hostin frames events like a trial lawyer, but Megyn Kelly reveals the tactics behind the performance-crafted sound bites, selective outrage, and emotional manipulation. Sunny's predictable formula of dramatic claims and skewed facts falls apart under scrutiny. Megyn compares her style to a magician's illusion, flashy on the surface, hollow underneath. Sunny's version of justice is more theater than truth, supported by echo chambers that reward applause over accuracy.
Sunny Hostin over at The View had some choice words for Brittany Mahomes, who's married to the other Mahomes guy who plays for the Chiefs. She had the temerity to like a Trump post online, and she's been taking shit for it ever since. She wound up posting this defensive tweet saying, God, people are like, you got to settle down, like, go be a better person and don't jump all over people for just random stuff. And here's Sunny Hostin weighing in on it.
Since she is in an interracial marriage, she should have known that to support a racist is problematic. Her children are biracial, and her family is one of the families that in the 70s could not have lived in any of Donald Trump's buildings. So
Megyn, joined by Charlie Kirk, presents facts with calm precision. While Kirk supplies hard data and timelines, Megyn methodically exposes Sunny's contradictions. What once appeared as moral clarity collapses into personal bias and emotional spectacle. Sunny lashes out in frustration, but behind the anger is a lack of substance. Their analysis, free from theatrics, reveals the shaky foundation beneath her polished image.
Sunny Hostin of The View finds out that this is fantastic. She is descended from slaveholders. Here's what she said when she went out on The View.
really reluctant to do it because I just sensed that there could be something in my family history that would be disappointing. But what I found out was that my mother's family, while they are Puerto Rican, they actually originate from Spain. And the reason that they moved to Puerto Rico is because the slave trade had been sort of canceled in Spain and then Curacao, and then they moved all of their slaves to Puerto Rico. And so the family business, I had been told that they were printers and journalists.
Sunny's real strength lies in narrative control, but Megyn exposes the deeper media hypocrisy that protects her. In the world Sunny inhabits, sincerity substitutes for truth, and perception overtakes reality. When emotion is challenged by fact, her carefully built image begins to unravel. Kirk brings the receipts, Megyn delivers the dissection, and the result is devastating, not loud, just honest.
So I'm thrilled you're doing the next debate, Megyn. That's a step in the right direction, because honestly, you're going to ask the tough questions very firmly and fairly. More, that Univision person that was there a couple debates ago was just obviously had an agenda, and you're going to hold them accountable. And also, you have a really big audience of people of all different political backgrounds. And finally, Megyn, I think, and I don't know what you're going to ask, but I would imagine you're going to get some answers on this trans thing, which I think is a civilizational defining issue, right? That has not received any attention
by NBC,
right?
Not a question.
Because they know it's a loser.
This wasn't just a debate, it was a quiet dismantling. Sunny's progressive icon status faltered under real pressure. Like a crumbling statue, her persona fell apart not from shouting, but from truth. Off camera, the critique landed harder than any direct confrontation. Her performance, once backed by applause, stood empty when stripped of its narrative shield.
Revisionist media coverage of it, Charlie, just yet another reminder of how important the lane you and I are in has become for anybody wanting actual honest information.
Yeah, a couple thoughts. First, that's the #1 podcast out there. And so it's not just some fringe thing. It does very, very well. It always almost near the top of the podcast charts. Number two, I just laugh when, grown men talk like 15-year-old girls with their up inflection of their voice. We don't really know if they're guilty And it's like, it just drives me crazy. It's like that's central casting for Upper East Side metrosexual New York Times podcast.
In the end, Megyn and Kirk demonstrated that facts not volume define credibility. Sunny's act didn't just falter, it collapsed. She's not the bold truth teller she claims, but a media figure chasing approval. The real takeaway, calm, consistent truth holds more power than any viral moment. No need for shouting, just precision, exposure, and facts that speak for themselves.